Hello, hello. Happy Wednesday, July 29th, 2026. How is everybody? It's been an interesting morning. Um, Decided to sort through a bunch of the pens that I bought in that Esterbrook collection last summer. Happy hump day, Gabriel. How are you? I was thinking all day, like, Lisa was late for lunch and she's normally, a little after noon. And I'm like, she's not here yet. Is it Wednesday? Is it Thursday? What day is today? Gabriel, Russell, how are you? Wear a green smoking jacket. No, yeah, the son get his power back. Yeah, it came back at the last minute. He was originally going to stay with us last night. And then he got notice that it was coming back on at 10. So he stayed home, and I guess it's all good. So, but yeah, so I started organizing some pens because I know I had some in binders that were like pens that were ready to restore, and but when I looked at them, some of them needed to go in the parts bins, and I needed to look for parts for them. But then I have all these other parts that I hadn't separated and organized, and one thing led to another, and then all of a sudden I've got a whole table full of parts. And the way I work is I over analyze everything, and one thing becomes another. And finally I just said, you know what, I got to do this one step at a time. Instead of like trying to find parts for this, that, and the other, I just need to separate them. Because then I realized I had other bags of parts that were kind of junk parts, but they're taking up space elsewhere. They can all go, and I have my pens sorted by model, my Esterbrook parts sorted by model and by color. So J's in black, blue, they get their own bags. So I had these other bags that were part of the parts that I thought they were quart-sized baggies when we made the deal, and it turned out they were gallon-sized baggies of parts. I made something like 75 or 80 pens out of the parts bags, and then I finally gave up because my mind just was like, it was starting to melt. And then I never got back to it because I knew if I combined them with my bags, I might be able to make a few more. And so I just decided I was going to combine those with this other bag of parts that I had that actually apparently had some good parts in it. And a third bag of pens that I found for, I don't know why they were separated. I kind of have an idea. But combine everything and put it all together. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each bag. And first off, I'm going to pull all the nibs because there are good nibs in most of these pens, and they're sitting in the parts bins, doing nobody any good. And then I'm going to try to see if I can make something up and be productive that way. Now, I have no shortage of pens after buying those pens last summer. I'm down to about 300 and probably 375. Maybe probably a little more. So, but there's only so many, only so many black J's you can have before you wonder, like, what do I do with this stuff? Like, cut them in half and make it backsplash for your kitchen tile or what? So anyway, that was my morning. It led to other thoughts of organizing. And one of my goals this year was to try to organize things better, so I can find things when I need them. And that's a long-term project. I mean, when you've been in the business as long as I have, that can take a while. Because things just end up, and then sometimes you get lazy and you like that, Gabriel? You like that idea? Like if I cut them in half, maybe. Because they're like, I got, parts barrels that are missing jewels, and they're missing levers and lever rings, and I mean they're cracked at the threads. I mean, how great would that be? A little art piece. I mean, I could probably tile my entire kitchen in Esterbrook parts that I don't need and will never ever need. That's how many. I mean, literally, I was considering throwing some of this crap out. I probably could put it on eBay and make a couple $100. Cut them in half and set them in resin test. Yeah, yeah. I probably could sell them on eBay and make a couple $100, even with the description like "there's no good usable parts here." Lisa would be so thrilled with the kitchen upgrade. Well, we decided we were going to do a backsplash, but the way the kitchen turned out, I said, if you do a back, and she picked out this beautiful kind of aqua color for the kitchen. I don't know if aqua is the right term, but and I looked at it and I kind of said to her, I said, I don't think we should do the backsplash. If you put the backsplash up, you lose like 90% of the color in the kitchen. And it's more work and it's more money and I like the color. So I like to see the color and I know Lisa likes to see, he wants that color and that vibrancy when she wakes up in the morning to get her coffee. So glue them around pen pencil cups. That's a good idea. It's a nice kitchen as is. Yeah, we like it. We really do. If I had it to do over, we were running a little low on cash. We had to spend a lot of money. We were forced to spend money, which was very strange. But I would have maybe done better cabinets. They're fine. But, they're a whole lot better than what was there to begin with, for sure. So, we like it. It's nice and clean and new and fresh and all that stuff. And it's going to make it hard to move because, every place I've ever been has been like a crappy kitchen. So this is kind of nice. Glue them around pen and pencil cups. That's not bad. I can sell them. I can make like little pencil cups and sell them. Yeah, that's a great idea. It's a great idea to waste my time. Further waste my time. Anyway. So yeah. So next step is I got everything and eventually at the end I was just kind of like, and I got these huge gallon bags of parts. Like, okay, where are the full-size J's? Where are the LJ, parts? Where are the dollar pens? Where are the traditionals, the pencils, and everything else? And then I can just like throw everything in the bag, and I was just like throwing stuff in bags. I was not even looking at it. Tomorrow I might actually just go in. I'll start pulling bags, and I'll start pulling nibs. Take the nibs out, clean the nibs, let them dry, get them with the rest of the nibs. So little by little, and then I've got a tray of sections, and then the next step will be I'm going to go through and sort out all the parts that are pretty much useless, and then they'll go in a separate location, but they'll go in a separate location by color, by model, etc., etc. And hopefully smaller bags because, but sections need to be tested. I got a whole drawer of sections, but half of them are cracked. Some are good, but you got to look through. Why am I looking through crap all the time? Why am I making my life hard? And I save these things. I don't know why I save them, but because maybe I'm thinking there's going to be a miracle cure, miracle development in plastic and hard rubber crack repair. Or that it's going to be worth it to repair some of these someday in the future, Maybe someday we'll do some jewel replacements on I have some cool pens, but they need, they need new jewels on both ends. If I had to charge for that repair, it would be astronomical. Did we test the cooler out? Yeah, I got to test it out finally last night. It didn't occur to me. So I was like, okay, well, at first I turned it on, it was in Celsius, and I'm like, what? 20 degrees seems like a really, really low temperature. But yeah, you can set the temperature. I got it switched to Fahrenheit, and I had it on for a couple hours. It did cool off, and I wasn't thinking. I was like, well, my soda's not cold because I put in some warm soda. And it was getting cold. So, but yeah, obviously this warm soda, it's got to cool down. So, it seems to work. So that's tested for next week. So yeah, Today, let's take a look at what we got today. I'm going to maybe make this a little short today just because, and I say that, then, I'll end up going till 4:30. I got a couple of packages of stuff in, including some Dr. G's pen rejuvenator. I got some of this that came in today. And I got a new product line that came in, and I didn't get a chance to receive it, so I really kind of got to do that. So these we should be able to get sacked today. We're gonna play around with this guy here, and how great did these turn out? How great does that look? Look at that. Is that not fantastic? You wouldn't know that was hard rubber. Indy, how you doing? That is so nice. This is going to be my test subject. We're going to fill in this hole today. We're going to try the David's suggestion of Captain Tolly's. Going to give these a little bit wipe down. There's still a little bit of rejuvenator on them that needs to be rubbed in, but they really turned out really nice. This is a pretty scarce pen, so if you're looking for a really cool Esterbrook, this is one of them. You could sleeve the barrel on the inside if you wanted, but I think the glue will work. I'm not sleeving a barrel. Not doing that. I mean, it's like, there's a sack in there. The only thing we want to prevent against is if the sack breaks, gets a hole, then we don't want the ink to be in my pocket. I did have a funny conversation about this pen yesterday with Lisa on the way home. We talk about each other's day on the trip home, and how the repairs go, and this, that, and the other thing, and said, well, we got this nice dollar pen, but it's got a crack in the barrel. She's, and I said, I think we're going to make it, we're just going to make it like a tester. I mean, we're just going to play with it and see, and just have it for a shop pen. And she's like, well, don't you need, well, that's gonna. She's the only problem is it's gonna take a nib away from another pen. I said, you have no idea how many nibs I have, do you? Okay, hang on. My daughter is texting me. She has a question. She is editing images. So anyway, I was like, yeah, you have no idea how many nibs we have. If I'm not low on nibs, I can bring you more to DC. You know what I do need? Honestly, honest to goodness, I do need, David, I highly doubt you have this. But if you have this, any one, I need sections for slender, like Model A's, SJs, LJs. I could probably use sections from SJs and LJs on Model A's, but I have lots of slender pens, A's and H's specifically, that I have no sections for. You need two yourself. Okay. Well, there's that idea, I guess. They aren't. And you know, as I do more research, I'm coming of the opinion. Can they be 3D printed? I mean, I guess anything can be 3D printed, but what's it going to cost? The problem with 3D printed is it doesn't take into account. Yeah, the cost would be astronomical, I would imagine. I don't know. But it doesn't take into account that not all LJ, SJ, A, and H sections, which are theoretically the same, they're not. You can take, and if you don't know what a Model A is the slender version of the dollar pen. H is the LJ of the dollar pen. H is the SJ, the short and slender version of the dollar pen. You know, and LJ and SJ, they just you can take two Model A sections and they won't fit. Probably three. It used to be said that there was as many as 7 different sizes of sections to fit any one particular model because it just, you know, the tolerances just weren't there. So if we 3D print something that's very precise, the problem is it's going to be too big for some and too small for others. Print a section, solvent polish it, then custom fit it to the pen using a lathe. Well, you know, I don't have a lathe anymore. And no, no, I don't want one. I've accepted that I don't need one. I'm not going to have one. Yeah, all of a sudden one section costs $100. Yeah. You know, and honestly, I just spilled this all over me. You know, making a section for an SJ is just not worth it. I mean, it better be the prettiest SJ ever, because nobody wants an SJ. You've played musical chairs with some pens to get better fitting sections in. I mean, not even all caps fit. What's wrong with SJs? They're small. There's nothing wrong with them. But, I mean, so here's the problem. Let's say we divide pen collectors into 2 groups, right? You have vintage collectors, okay? Like me, I consider myself a vintage collector that also uses modern pens. You have vintage collectors, and you have modern collectors who sometimes dabble in vintage. Desk pen sections have worked in some. Yeah. They're almost the same. If you ever find yourself with an absurd amount of money and you already have a laser welder, you already have. I'd buy a 3D printer good enough to try it. Yeah. So you've got. Do you agree? We have vintage collectors who use modern pens. There's a subset of vintage, right? There's a subset of vintage collectors who don't use and some who only use vintage pens, and then, some who use modern. But let's just say the modern part doesn't matter. There are vintage collectors and there are modern collectors who sometimes dabble in vintage. So I think we can probably safely agree, if we were going to distill it down to its easiest equation, those two groups of people, okay? So your vintage collectors, unless you're an Esterbrook collector, which there are very few people who I would consider are Esterbrook collectors. There, and a lot of people, they Esterbrook is cute. I'm not collecting that. I collect my Watermans, my Parkers, my Schaefers, anything with a 14 karat gold nib. And they may have one or two Esterbrooks in their collection, but that's it. They're not buying SJs. They're buying the largest pen they can, which is this guy. Or the nicest, the rarest example, the VisuMaster. Maybe a bandless because it's cool, but I think that's a small subset of people who I think that's cool. Prototype or demonstrate, something funky, something weird, something special. And they're not going to have very many. So they're not buying SJs. Esterbrook collectors probably have, if you really want to get picky, there's 12 SJs. 12. That you can collect. So vintage people aren't buying SJs. Modern people, now this is an extreme example. Modern people are buying modern pens, and all modern pens, for the most part, are huge. Sailor King of Pen. So if you're going to get into vintage, and for whatever reason, everybody loves the double jewel J's, that's the pen they buy because it's big. SJ, shorter, slender, why do I want that? I need a bigger pen. Bigger is better. So modern people aren't buying them. You sell them once in a while. I don't know how to get, and Esterbrook made this, the modern Esterbrook made this pen called the JR, which drove me nuts because everybody called it a junior because it was smaller. Not understanding that JR was like J, model J, reborn. Not junior. And then they put that stupid trim ring in the middle of the barrel, which drove me bonkers. You happen to appreciate tiny pens with the SJ huge compared to them. Yeah, so and then that's the other thing, right? Too, like David and I both appreciate incredibly small pens. Wall zeros. I don't really do Peter Pans unless it's a really nice Peter Pan. Small Wirtz, Grease Jobber, Baby Grand, Aiken Lambert Pet. Really, really tiny pens. SJ, it's kind of in that no man's land where it's like, you won't turn your nose up at a Peter Pan. I'm not going to actively collect them. I have like one. Tiny Saul's pens. Yep. You pick up another Wall Zero. Yeah. So SJ is kind of like in that weird size where it's like, it's cute. And unless you have small hands and you're not a vintage collector, it's a hard sell to most people. Unfortunately, because they want that pen. They want the J. But they want it for 1990s pricing. Because it doesn't have a gold nib. Right? So there's nothing inherently wrong with an SJ. It's just that it kind of, in my opinion, it kind of sits in a, and I've got a lot of them on my website. I just don't know how to sell them because they don't, you know. Yeah, they want the J. Everybody wants the J because it's a little bit bigger because it's still smaller. It's still smaller than this. You know, modern Estes, they're not quite this large, but they're this long. The oversized are this big. You know, Delta, you know, your Xinhaos, your Mont Blanc 149s. I mean, even your Legrands, Edison Colliers, they're massive. You just never would have floated in, you know, back in the 40s. They would have laughed you out of existence if that was like your smallest pen was an oversized pen. So, yeah, they are affordable. They're high quality. But finding the market for them is challenging. Gary, how are you? A friend of yours likened the bigger ones you have to some not safe for work objects. Oh my goodness. She said they were way too big. Well, tell her, send her my way. I got lots of SJs and great colors, really great colors and great writers too. All right, so 30-minute intervals. All right. You're well, wet and cold. You're happy they're finally fixing your furnace so you have the whole house AC going soon. Nice. I've had all manner of crude and creative labels applied to my collection of oversized pens. Makes you laugh every time. You tried to enable her, but it didn't stick. Oh, well. All manner. Has anyone seen Juicy online? You know, we haven't seen her, yeah, since the Dutch show, after the Dutch show. All right. Anyway, that's my philosophy. I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, they're great pens for sure. Otherwise, I wouldn't continue to buy them. And the other thing is did I say this? I meant to say this, I think. In the research that I'm doing, I am not convinced. You know how we always just say that. Boy, is this tough. How the hell do we get this in? We always say that Esterbrook made pens in 3 sizes, J, LJ, SJ. I'm starting to get the feeling, and I've known this for a while, that Esterbrook didn't make LJs until much later. It doesn't make any sense. Because you can find LJ sized transitionals. but they are literally nowhere to be found in catalogs, price lists even. They're not in price lists. And I need to do a little bit more digging, but they're nowhere to be found until 1957. And clearly they made Model A size, and maybe they don't. Maybe they didn't make them because maybe the A and the H, based on just pure numbers that we can see now, weren't popular. And maybe they just said, you know what, we're going to make the large size and we're going to make the small size, and that's it. And then later on, maybe they decided, well, we're just going to make. Everybody's going towards slender. SM. Oh, this didn't. This is. We got to look for a barrel for that. You know what I mean? So I'm just not. I'm not 100% convinced yet. I hate the thought of putting this in, but. If it came out easy once, maybe it will come out easy again. So anyway, that's my revelation for the day. This is really a great pen, this one here. Might knock that nib out. You've had those sack tray trouble with those sack trays staying put once back in the pen. Oh, this one needs to come out. Look at that. Yeah, so the problem here is this one doesn't have the spacer. So let's find a spacer. So what you have to do is, and you know, some of you already know this, but in case there's anybody new watching, if you're going to leave this in, if you're going to leave this in, number one, you got to have the spacer. It's like a little eraser. Other words, what happens is this bar gets pushed back too far, and this stop doesn't work because it'll be too far back, and this won't catch it. It will just keep going. If you pull this out, swap this out with a longer bar, a 54 instead of a 48, because it will go further down the barrel, and then you can use a longer sack. But you do have to line this up correctly. So there are two sizes of spacers. This size, which is, do I have a ruler here? This is actually about a 1/2 inch. And then there's the small size that you use on LJ. Which is significantly smaller. Quarter inch, maybe. So we'll try this. Drop that in there. And usually what happens is you take out the J-bar and you like, you know, you end up losing it because you don't know it's there and you're pounding it out or whatever. And why is there an eraser in there? And you throw it out. On the bottom, that way if you have the spacer, you see this little notch here? There's a little notch on the bottom, little bump. That goes in, that slots into the bottom of this lever, the C-ring. You've never opened a full-size J and found one? One of these spacers? They're not present on SJs, of course, because SJs are short. They don't need a spacer. If your Esterbrook does not, if your lever does not stop perpendicular to the barrel, and it's a J or an LJ, it's missing the spacer. Earlier pens, dollar pens don't have them. These don't have them. Which is one of the reasons why I can't believe that they're not more popular, because their incapacity, not only could they use a larger sack, they for sure use a longer sack, because the incapacity on the largest size J is the same capacity as the smallest size SJ. So if it doesn't, and that spacer is what makes this work. If this keeps going, if it keeps going further, that means the bar is pushed back further by a 1/2 inch, and it's not going to catch that notch. Or you have a replacement bar. But if you have the original bar with the bar with the notch, you know, this is an earlier one, doesn't have a notch. But if you've got the one with the notch and it doesn't stop perpendicular, you're missing a spacer. Well, this looks ugly too. This one, I think we're going to get rid of this nib anyway. Oh. That is breaking out, so I think I can probably just... Oh, no. I thought it went in my soda, but... I guess not. Let's get the... Small... All right, well, that's twice I've used these drill bits since I got them, so... Iron Man 73 this weekend was successful. They estimated brought in $9 million in business to the area. Awesome. So we need a section there. We're nibbing that. These come out. This one came out. Well, looks good in there. Let's put that in there. This one is... This is an early... So this is one of the early renew points. And this is a reasonably clean example. You can see the pin there. So in order to get this nib apart, if you wanted to get it apart, you have to knock that pin out. It's usually rusted because it goes through the back of the feed. If you try to knock this out, without removing that, you will not only will you will break the collar, but you very likely will break the feed too. And this one, it seems a little bit off. It looks like the nib was probably out at one point. It's all boogered up anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But that's just an interesting point. Gary, you were sent 3 pens to fix, and lady gave you a bag of pen parts in return. And one of the bags you found all the parts for a Swan pen, 14 karat nib. I returned the Swan to her, and she was so happy. She is now sending another 15 pens to fix. I will never be nice again. I only want to fix my pens. You know, it's you know, you don't have to fix other people's stuff, but you can be selective. Yeah, can I send you a bag of pens to fix? Between David and I, we can get together. We can send one big box. You have a handful with that pin. One is a 2668 with the bent nib. You're afraid to try. Yeah, so the interesting thing is the actual nib itself. So like here's a 2556. The actual nib imprint itself for a 2556 or 2668 is exactly the same for like a long time. So if you have a pinned renew point with a bad 2668, you could technically knock one out of a much later unit, but you've got to devise a system to first knock this pin out, which means, of course, soaking, and then you need a pin or something very tiny to knock that out. I had a little system for a while. I thought about making a tool for it. It's just not worth it to. I mean, nobody would buy the tool. There's like 3 people that would buy the tool, and I'm one of them. So anyway, that's it. Let's get some sacks. You have a watch repair kit? You might be able to get the pin with that. Oh, that's an interesting idea. Many, many years ago, I had my dad help me with this project. And my thinking was I wanted something, I've got it around here somewhere. I've got it at home. I don't remember. I took a block of wood and then I drilled a hole along the top. So I had a groove. I had essentially a slot to comfortably set the nib in place. And then I drilled a hole through that groove so that I had somewhere to knock the pin out. It sort of worked. I think Dad was happy to help. Just do something different. He was not a pen guy, even though he forgot that he had a pen or 2 lying around. Oh, a little pin vise. Yeah, I've got one of those. You mean for bracelets? I will I'll bring one tomorrow. Now, you got the nib has got to be you got to soak it and soak it. I mean, you run the risk of breaking something. I was successful a number of times doing it, but I also broke, a half a dozen in the process. Now, when you think about it, the nib is we're not going to do this one just quite yet. I guess we could, though. We could. Um, the nib's bad anyway. So technically, if you break something on the nib, I mean, there's only two things to break. You're not really out much. Yeah, I never thought of that. Yeah, I got one or two of those at home. I'll have to bring one in. But for a while, like I mentioned, some time ago, I was resacking all my dollar pens, my old pens in my collection, with the original Esterbrook Mark sacks. It was probably a really dumb idea, but if they were pliable and usable, then I was using them. And then I was making sure that all the nibs were correct flat feeds, And really, the feed is the most important part. If you break the collar, no big deal. I mean, really. If you got to replace it with a much later collar, they're a dime a dozen, and they're easy to get off. So it's not going to have the pin, but who cares? Of course, the whole project is kind of who cares, but you can't charge somebody more money because it's got. I mean, I guess you could. There we go. I thought that was a little too short. You have to remember on the J's that you've got that spacer in there, so that chews up what amounts to half an inch. And let me get a spacer here. Now, I'm making the assumption that all these sacks are exactly the same length. They're not always. Um, but there's the difference. This is the amount I cut off on a pen without a spacer, and this is the amount I cut off on a pen with a spacer. And that is the difference. This is actually, I'm certain that's the wrong section for that pen. It works, but why it has the original nib, your guess is as good as mine. Oh my, there's one of those 14 karat relief renew points listed, $199. You can buy the whole pen for that. Who's selling that? That's kind of insane. You have one already, yeah. Yeah, you're gonna spend $200. Get the whole pen. Paid 80 for the pen. All right, we got a link. I gotta look at this. Pengineer. Who is Pengineer in England? That's crazy. Nuts, nuts, nuts. You know, good on them though for trying. I mean, you know, somebody who needs to have it might pay it, might not. All right, so we're gonna do this up. This will be ready when we're ready to finish this pen, then. He's a dealer. He is never cheap with the pens he sells. He has a little store near a market. Oh, okay. I mean, you know, I mean, people say the same thing about me. I'm not cheap either. I got overhead. I get it. Every 30 minutes, it says. Until effective. Oh, it's 3 o'clock. He does, however, sell some very good pens. Some are quite hard to come by. Yeah. All right, we're going to need to find... We're going to knock this nib on. All right. You stopped going for cheap. The frequency of issues was high enough to make it not cheaper, and the grief of correcting the issues was a brain drain. Yeah. Now you have a list of approved vendors that you stick to. Yeah, I mean, if you're willing to take the risk, you're going to have problems, right? And not necessarily problems, but there will be issues or hidden issues. Because, quite frankly, you know, anybody who knows what they're doing will charge more just because they know what they're doing. You know. Fuzzy, how you doing? You have a list of vendors to avoid for similar reasons? I don't know that I've ever gone that far. Um, Cardinals at the top of your list, especially when you've watched the pen being put through its paces. Nice. Appreciate it. You have a parts bin of great deals? Is it marked great deals? Because that would be funny. Great deals. Yeah, and you know, some people, I think most of the people watching, or at least those that are in the chat that, you know, we can chat with, kind of understand the concept of how this works. Because you never know. You just never know. It's hidden so you're not reminded. You never know what you're going to get. And you know, and while I hate to have pens break or problems on the stream, I think it's educational to the point that I've been doing this like almost 30 years. Yeah, vintage pens are like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. And I still make mistakes. I don't make them nearly as often. It still happens. And there may not even be qualify some as mistakes, more so as pens that had issues that, you know, you didn't see. I mean, you know, because many times buying a pen, I won't say it's a high pressure situation, but if you're at an antique store or a flea market, sometimes you need to make a decision quickly. You know, you've got the shop owner who's got the key for the case, and you know they got other things to do. They don't want to spend time. You know, it's a calculated risk. Yeah, absolutely. So you go, okay, well, and that's why, you know, and occasionally I get people who are very upset with me when they want to sell me a pen over the counter, and I tell them what my price is, and my price is like, I mean, it's very low because it's at a price point where I assume, unless it's something I'm incredibly familiar with, which even, you know, even Esterbrook's, as evidenced by this guy. Now, that pen I bought in a lot of, you know, what was it? The 500, 600 pens. You know, I didn't inspect them all. I bought the lot based on essentially the presence of one pen that I wanted for my collection. But, you know, you price it at a point where you calculate it as parts. You know, what's the nib worth? What's the section worth? What's the part that's most likely to break? What's the part that's going to most likely to give you a problem? And then factor that part at 0, and then go and when you do this, always line this up the way it originally was. Always. It's just, it'll make your life easier. That one just pushed in real nicely. But if you factor it at 0, then I can't guarantee that's going to be a great writing nib, but at least it's cleaner than it was before. You factor it at 0, then, you know, at least you're going to be, you know, you're going to be okay. one I have bought from when it's something I can't find elsewhere. I factor in that restored usually means there's something not right. I'll need to correct, but only for the right price. Yeah. Yeah. The pet show is great. You don't get those good deals there. Good restorers sell at decent prices. You don't really find pens to restore there. I normally only buy new artisan pens or vintage that I'm chasing. Yeah. I mean, it's hard. It's possible. I buy a lot of my pens at pen shows. Delivery. Um, I buy a lot of pens at pen shows, but sometimes it's really hard to find anything that's remotely close to what one would consider a wholesale price after the fact. All right, so in about 20 minutes we'll try this again. It says every 30 minutes and then wait 24 hours, so we'll keep doing it. I'm not really running out of pens, but I'm running out of pens other than Esterbrook's at this point. So, and I really don't. I've got a couple of desk pens, but I'm going to wait on those. No one sells parts at the show. Yeah, that's it doesn't happen much anymore, does it? That one looks good, huh? A little dirty. Hunter green, that's nice. Yellow. Peach. First gen pink. You did pull the trigger on that shadow wave. Everything else looked in order. Yeah. Peachy. Aqua. This one's a little discolored, but maybe we'll throw that in there just for fun. We'll work on those. The Pastel Cousins. Yep. I was just editing the pastel page on the Esterbrook website last night actually. Uh, so that's coming along. Got some more progress today. Look at this. Look at this. Who put this in there? Maybe we should come up with new names for the pastels. If we spread the misinformation enough, it becomes fact, right? Yeah, right? Well, you know, so what I sometimes struggle with is, and this is interesting, I think. Yeah, I've been collecting Esterbrook's for 28 years. As collectors, we've come up with all sorts of names to describe pens and models. That were not names that the manufacturers came up with. Esterbrook is especially bad at it. We've got icicles. We've got nurse pens, dollar pens. I mean, almost every model. Deluxe Safari. And pastels. They were not called pastels. And just last night or this morning, I'm like, we call them pastels, but that's not actually correct. They were technically purse pens. That's what they were called. Or CH. Tutti Frutti. So I actually, on the current website, I have purse pens listed as pastel because that's what everybody knows them at. Vacuumatics get confusing too with collector nomenclature. Yeah, and the catalogs are clear as day. Yeah, Vacuumatics just mystify me. But yeah, nurse pens. I don't even know that they actually had an official name for nurse pens, and doctor's pens is completely made up. You have a name for wherever, but it's better not to share it as it's rude. You mean the new wherever, right? Nurse pens, what we call nurse pens, were pens for them. They were white pens, white pens for the medical profession. Model CH, or I'm sorry, SJW. SJW is technically what they were called. Whatever. Wherever, whatever. So I find myself having to retrain my brain because for the 28 years I've called these pastels. I'm spreading misinformation by calling them pastels. Now, I can say collectors call them pastels, but that's not what they're really called. The classic part spin pen. You got some good ones today, Gary. What was that other one? Bad Decisions? Important for you to list them that way on your site if that's what people search for. No listing news, no sale. Yeah, yeah. I'm referring right now. I'm referring to the revamp of the Esterbrook site. Where you're waking up after your second coffee. On the Esterbrook side, I want everything to be correct. I talk about collector nomenclature on the site, but as far as listing things, I'm going to list them as correct. And I bet you any money that eventually these will turn around and people will be calling them purse pens. Because that's what happened with dollar pens. Nobody in their right mind ever called them models B, A, and H outside of Esterbrook back in the 30s. Nobody cared. Only two wherevers you have support two versions of the framed reinforced nibs they made. I actually have a small little wherever collection that I've accumulated recently. The hard rubber wherevers, only because they're very hard to find. Very, very hard to find. And one of them I made here. I found it here. I found the cap and the barrel in a parts bin. And then spent way too long looking for the section. And found a nib I don't remember what nib I put in it, but it might even be a gold nib just for a warranted nib. All right. Oops. Yeah, that's cute. I bet that filled like crap. Hey, looky here. We got ourselves a marked sack. I'm not certain why, but I got a text from Lisa earlier today. About the state. It's actually Wisconsin and Illinois. State cycling championships. Does she want me to? I gotta ask her. Like, does she want me to do that? I mean, And what category do I enter in? Cat 4-5. I mean, Masters. I'd probably get my ass handed to me. I probably need a $20,000 racing bike to enter that. Would they laugh? Would they laugh me out if I showed up on a 28-year-old steel framed bike with 2-year-old components? Hey, I may be the last one to cross the line, but I'll look stylish doing it. You don't understand. USPS, I bought some tools from Penn Tooling in California. Instead of being sent across the Pacific to me, they have gone from California to New York first. Go figure. And chemical enhancement. Hey, I watched the move enough, and maybe I'll figure that game out. And the course is something like, it's a 23-mile loop. And so depending on your category, Cat 4-5 is 2 loops. Masters is 3 loops. Like I haven't ridden on the road in 2 years. Well, that looks grody, huh? So that'll be a fun conversation later. All right, let's write these down. She is spent. I would need a support vehicle. Yeah, there's actually a feed zone and everything. Like, and it's like a few hours away. I don't even know if it's in Wisconsin. I have to look. But what was interesting is they give you your number based on where you live. So if you live in Illinois, you get a yellow or like an orange. You get an orange number for like the Bears. If you live in Wisconsin, you get a green number. There's a green background on the number for the Packers. And if you don't fit in either of those two camps, then why would you come to the state championships if you don't live in Illinois or Wisconsin? You get a white badge or a white number. Oh, now that's a nip right there. 97.88. So far we got 350 and 51s. Yeah, and it's like $60 entry fee. I just don't know that I. About 500 feet of elevation per lap. So 500 meters total, probably, if we're doing meters. For 3 laps. All right. Oops, and I gotta tape this one here too. All right. This one looks pretty much new old stock. Let's pull off this. This is kind of a fun thing to do when you get these. You get all that adhesive that kind of eventually leaches out, and you can just wipe it off with the toothpick. This one, the sticker folded over, it looked like. Did I see Walt won the first stage of the Tour of Denmark? No, I didn't see that. I was thinking about maybe watching it. I got kind of, I got that thing that happens after the tour because you've been watching cycling all season where it's like you have like withdrawal, but then you're like really happy it's over because like you're tired of watching it every day and you need a break. I see Pogacar is still undecided whether or not UAE, he and UAE are going to do the Vuelta. think they would figure that out. The Vuelta is one of those races that takes me like 5 weeks to finish because it just, you know, unless a really, really big name shows up, it's just kind of boring. Your only stickered Esterbrook is a double X. You should get around to cleaning that adhesive. Yeah. I love double X's. You caught that too? You think he will? He probably will. Well, he needs to check it off. He needs to check that off his list. You know, he will show up to Paris-Roubaix until he wins. Or, you know, die trying. He hasn't tried Vuelta. Well, actually, I think he wrote it once. Didn't he? He wrote it once? And I don't think he's competitive in the sense that Jonas won all 3 Grand Tours and he needs to, you know, now win the Vuelta, so he'll be caught up with Jonas. I don't think he's that way, but you know, it's on his list. It's going to depend on how he feels. I think after Jonas left the tour, that maybe it wasn't nearly as hard a battle as it was going to be. So maybe he didn't burn as many matches as he might have. So maybe Vuelta's a better idea now. Whereas if, you know, Jonas was in there giving him a fight for the lead, he might have had to try harder. Instead of giving stages away. You know what I mean? Yeah, money's not the issue, but you know, as he's ticking off every conceivable cycling, you know, accomplishment. You know, that's up there. I mean, he's probably never gonna be like, well, you know, I need to win the Tour Down Under. I mean, I can't see him saying that, but he's gonna want to win all the classics. I mean, if he does show up at the Tour Down Under, I mean, he'll probably just demolish the whole field. He did ride it one year and he didn't win. It must have been very early, huh? I mean, and I mean no disrespect. Seriously, I mean no disrespect to the Tour Down Under, but it's not, you know, it's not in the same conversation as the Vuelta or Paris-Roubaix or any of these other things that he's, I mean, well, what's left? I mean, you know, heat probably got to him, yeah. I'm sorry, we got to call it by its real name, the Santos Tour Down Under. And let us not forget the Zip Track Intermediate Sprints. Agree, but the teams love it as they don't have to move around, gets them out of the winter. And yeah, it's a really a training race, I think, in my opinion. Did this one we have to use heat? Must have, because I see shellac here. You love your marketing down there. Yeah, it just makes me like kind of roll my eyes and laugh at the same time, because they'll be like, you know, you don't ever hear them in the Tour de France go, well, now they're coming up to the Skoda Intermediary Sprint. No. Green is a little bit harder to tell. There's something here, but I need to work on my Australian accent. Yeah, I know. I really wasn't trying, so to be fair. But I watch it every year. Every year. I look forward to it. The first event on this, it means cycling season. It started. Means I don't have to suffer through whatever TV series or bad movies I've been watching all winter. You know, and after December, it's like, can we just have the Tour Down Under, please? Because that last week in December is just like, I got to start looking now for stuff to watch end of December. You do the Cadell race right a week later. It's a great ride along the coast. Yeah, you mentioned that. That sounds like fun, especially if you got Cadell Evans showing up. All right. Is it time for more Probably. I think that's filling in pretty good. All right, what do we got here? Check the threads. He rides it as does Simon Gerrans, who owns a local bike shop down there. That's really interesting that they like go from being a pro to running a bike shop. It must be like a pro shop though, right? It's not a, you know, people don't go there to buy a beach cruiser, do they? Or fat tire bike or something like that. They sell everything. Oh, really? Okay. I guess a bike's a bike. We've got a great pro shop a couple hours from here. They don't really have anything but high-end stuff. They cater to, you know, endurance athletes and triathletes and whatnot. So they do biodynamic bike fits, and that's where I got my fit a couple years ago. Last year? Last year, yeah, last year. I did on January 1st. I did on January 1st, I think it was. You know, like the cheapest bike they got's a, you know, a Colnago or whatever, you know. I'm just trying to clean up, loosen up gunk that I see in the threads here. And then I'll just dip it in the ultrasonic and it'll go away. Or it'll go away as best it can. You're going to be moving end of August. You'll be able to bike to work. Awesome. That is cool. I enjoyed it the 3 days I did it when Lisa was in Denmark. Mm. 3 miles isn't so bad, yeah. 3 miles, you probably do it in 10, 15 minutes. Mine here is like right on the edge of like, depending on traffic, it's 20, 25. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better commute though. It's 95% bike path. And a wide bike path at that. And you could outride to work as your life expectancy would be diminished. Yeah, and sadly, that's the way it is in a lot of places. I think maybe once Lisa retires, it might change for me because, she might stay home. Most of the week, you know. But, as long as there's a car going in. She's got a chauffeur. It's a wide running bike path, about 2/3 of the distance. Yeah, that's nice. You go out after all the work traffic is finished? Yeah. My problem is I have so many junk miles that I have to ride to get out where I can ride. If I wanted to take my road bike, that it's just not worth it. It's a better workout to hop on the trainer and do an hour and be done with it. All right, those look good. Let's leave these up. This one's got a lot of rust. Build up in here. You live near Beach Road, one of the best routes in Australia. You should check out Melbourne Hell Ride on YouTube. It's famous. Okay. Always a little build up in here. It's nice to clean it out. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lisa. Am I singing that bad? Be right back. Oh, they're wishing you a happy birthday. They say I'm a David says I'm a world-class singer. Should have come with the viewer warning. Sorry.
Happy birthday's great. 61 times in one day.
It has not been 61 times.
Not yet.
I'm not there yet. You've been at work all day. My goal is to sing happy birthday 61 times today.
We are not we're 1 month and 6 years apart.
Yeah, 1 month and 6 years apart.
Yeah. I'm a cradle robber. It's all good. So, yeah. 61 times. Thanks.
Yeah, David could text him 61 times. Yeah.
Okay.
I still got 49 more times to go.
Thank God I got 2 bottles of wine from Doc then. All right. I'm out of here. I just came to get out.
Okay, all right.
It's been a day.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
No, you'll be
Did you
done
tell
in
him
an
how
hour.
I hurt myself?
I'm not going to tell that. I can't tell that. Is that safe to tell people?
I think I bruised or cracked a rib doing laundry.
That's just not cool. You gotta say like you were running after an intruder who was coming in the house
and was skydiving down the stairs to do laundry.
Was stealing all our wherevers.
Hard. Yeah, laundry is very hazardous.
They were gonna steal all the wherevers in the house. The pink wherever.
Thank you. I love you. Goodbye.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Only 48 more times. Happy birthday to you. You probably wanted the lakeside pins. Yeah. I got another one here somewhere. I gotta put that on my list of things to look for. I've got one. I'm sure. Maybe. Kind of. I don't really have anything for her, so I'm just gonna sing happy birthday all day long every time I see her. I took her out to dinner at our favorite haunt yesterday, so. Has the washing machine taken over from the salad spinner? Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's been like, I want to say it's been like 3 days now. I don't know what the heck she did, but every time she rolls over at night, you can hear her wince in pain. Like you ran into the the washing machine? Reminds me of the time I chased after a robber. Who mugged my secretary. And I, for whatever reason, decided it was a great idea to chase after the guy. And I was wearing flip-flops, so that didn't work very well. I scared the crap out of him, though. He stole my secretary's purse and he dumped it. Behind the shop that I was working at. If there'd have been a test for my FTP, it would have been exceeded that day. All right. Strap the pens to the inside of the drum and hit spin. You used the washing machine on your Caran d'Ache ballpoint the other day? It did not improve it. I thought you liked that ballpoint. You wouldn't be chasing anyone over here? Over there, too many guns? Well, this was... Wow. This was Florida, South Florida in 1999, probably. And that was my thought. My secretary was coming into work, and I was in early, and my desk had a view of the front door, and so I could see her getting her key out to put it in the lock. And at the time, I happened to have a $15,000 flute sitting in my lap. I damn near dropped the thing because the assaulter came flying from the, well, it would have been from her left, from my right, knocked her over as she was putting her keys in the car and her keys in the door, and grabbed her purse, which was around her arm, knocked her over. And so I went out the front of the door and chased him around. Like this was the front. Chased him around the back. The back. I could have probably beaten him had I went out the back. But as I got halfway around the back, I'm thinking to myself, well, you dumbass, what if this guy's got a gun? And then I watched one of the most amazing feats of human ability ever. I watched him scale a 6-foot tall fence in a single bound. It was like out of, I don't know. I was blown away because I couldn't believe someone could do that. And he took one jump and he jumped over the fence. He cleared it. And then proceeded to dump the purse on the other side of the fence, and took off. But he wasn't expecting to see me, and you do, but it somehow remained in your pants pocket. Oh no! Did it get anything inky? Did it blow up? You probably thought you were coming at him with a gun. I mean, yeah, maybe. I guess I never thought of that. My secretary, may she rest in peace. She passed away a number of years ago, but she had just gone to the bank that morning to get cash out for Christmas presents. And so she was all upset because I think she had, I mean, it would have been a payday for this dude. I think she had $500 or $600 in cash in her purse. The flute in your hand made him jump so high. Yeah. I was wondering how I was going to explain that to my boss. Hey, yeah, so that Yamaha flute that we had, I'm going to need that fixed. That's not good. I didn't think that one looked good. That's not good either. This J-Bar does not want to cooperate here. Actually, I told Lisa. Lisa wants to get one of the new Aura 5 Ring 5s. I told her I'd buy her one, but we're still negotiating the terms of that agreement. But I discovered a couple days ago that I had taken a survey. I don't remember for what. And they sent me a voucher for a $100 gift card with which I can get a good deal on the ring she wants. There we go. Well, that took longer than it needed to. It's been another half an hour. Let's see if this is... Probably good. Try it again tomorrow. All right, let's take a look at the nibs. Oh, we get caps in here. We got all sorts of things to look at here. And it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. It's this one. Of course, I can't. Oh, there's two. As I say, I can't read the writing on these tape pieces. Thankfully, all the nibs look pretty decent. This one still had some ink in it. Just like to, once I unscrew them, I like to get them a little dunk in there so that if there's any ink left, it comes out. This looks nasty, so I'm just going to drop that back in there. All those purse pens continue to mock you. They're saying you're so close to having them all, just buy the rest. You want me to send you a link to my new purse pen page on the new website? It might make your head explode. You better not look. Yeah. You'll wait for the debut of the entire site? Yeah, probably best. There's a lot of work to do. Oh my God. Actually, I'll probably be better at about by next week because, right now I'm going through all the old images that we discovered that we had. So I'm trying to get caught up on those. And problem is it's hard to tell the scale on some of them. Are they a full size? Are they a slender? Are they a short? I should put a countdown on the site when I get close to finishing. Well, you know me, I'm going to come up with 1,000 other things that I need to add. So it is handy not having the site live, because I'm just, instead of having a document that, you know, a to-do list document, I just put my to-do list on the appropriate pages, the information that I need to add or check on or verify or whatever, you know. And then I put them in, and I put them in bold, and as I replace the images, then I delete them, delete the old ones, because I've got all the old ones up so I know what I need to shoot yet. Desk sets will be the hardest. Or maybe not, I don't know. I think they'll be the hardest because I didn't have hardly anything on the old site on desk sets, so, or desk pens for that matter. I think though we'll be, if I was gonna guess, if I was a betting man, I would say we're probably 6 months out. Which is not bad, considering 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I love putting stuff on there that isn't on the old site. It just makes me smile. If you were a betting man, you'd have something on your horse this Saturday. It's running interstate as the prize money is good. Not really a betting man. I mean, you know. I've never actually been really interested in betting or the Vegas thing. You know, when I turned 18, my grandparents, they loved going to casinos and Vegas and whatever. They took my sister when she turned 18. They took her to Vegas, and they made me the same deal. They said you can go to Vegas, or we'll give you. I think it was, I don't know, $500 or $300 or whatever it was. I took the money. Well, yeah, I don't really care to go to Vegas. Although if I had to do it over again, a trip with my grandparents would have been cool. But when you're 18, you're stupid, and you think everybody's gonna live forever. So. Website will get done when it gets done. That's the thing. Oh, wow. Yeah, wait. Don't have the section. It's probably the same section. You're hoping it wins. Will give me more cash for North American pen auction. You're not a big better. Vegas doesn't interest me. Yeah. In fact, it wasn't until not too many years ago that when we go to what was it? L.A. Was it L.A. that you go through? Las Vegas? I can't remember. We went through it a couple times, and one time Lisa's like, "Well, why don't we just go downtown? We'll just drive downtown so you can see it." Like, okay, cool. That was it. Boy, this one it only wants to go in that far. Is this the one that's bent? Come on. Yeah, that's not right. Oops. Wrong tool. Can't get that out with the scissors. Yeah, see, it's doing that. It's bent up, and then the sack hits it. Yeah, it looks better. There we go. Oh, so much for getting done early today. Well, at least we're going to get these sacked up. We get to test them tomorrow, which will be fun. Oh, All right. Let's clean up these, rough up these sections. Did I do that yet? No, I don't think so. Aren't we all gamblers when we buy unrestored pens? Yes, that's about the extent of gambling I want to do. Unless time traveling is real and know the results of the race. But even then, I'd probably go back and just buy like a handful of Trishans and oversized deco bands and senior dual folds. eBay is the casino. Yeah. At least when you gamble that way, the worst case scenario is you just bought yourself some parts. Would you rather travel back in time to get new pens or the catalogs, documents, etc.? Well, that's a interesting question now, isn't it? Is it a one or the other situation? Like I can get as many pens as I can, I can find or carry, or I can only get documentation. Because the documentation ain't going to make you any money. All the above. Yeah, that's absolutely. I'm sort of at a point in my life where I probably would, if I was, I mean, nothing is ever sure, but if I was assured that I could get certain documents to answer certain questions that I have, that's worth it to me more than the pens, but. You'd buy all the Waterman Edson models. Every single one. At dealer cost. That's not going back very far. I'd go back and buy all the Esterbrook Deluxe desk sets. Everyone. I'd get all the Durez that you can't find. Especially the ones with the chains. You would raid the Dunhill Namiki counters of every retailer in London. Get a full set of Esterbrook twist fillers. In the box. Working. Please only show me the A grade piece. But you know, the documentation would be great. It really would be great. I mean, you know, it's you know, it depends on your motivation, right? Are you getting these pens for your collection because you can't afford them now, or they're unobtainable, or are you getting them to sell them to make money? You know, what's the motivation behind that portion of the thing? But it sure would be nice. I'd be willing to take parts. Poor Gary. You know, I mean, Esterbrook catalogs are few and far between. You know, especially early models. Now you can take the pens, but they age when you get back as if they're new old stock. Keep a few, but make $1 million or $2 million for fun. Yeah. Yeah, but you can't bring too much back because, well, if you bring something back, does that mean it doesn't get sold back in its time? Like we're not. I mean, they only made so many, so you're instead of somebody else getting it back in 1950 or whatever, we're bringing it back now. You know, like the first year Jotter conundrum that happened. How many years ago now? That's a good start for tomorrow, huh? Actually, you know, tomorrow, so we got all of these now. And most of these guys we're going to be testing tomorrow, putting it together and testing. Increased rarity, manipulation of market. Yeah, I don't know. I would like to see some of the ephemera though, for sure. Catalogs, internal price lists, internal documents. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the Esterbrook LJ, and it's a seemingly silly little thing, but they just don't advertise it. I haven't dug through my catalogs yet, and I have ones that are not available anywhere that I'm aware of. They're certainly not, you know, the Pen Collectors of America archives for Esterbrook is not exhaustive, but there are no LJs that I have found thus far before 1957. I'm certain I've seen them before then, but I could be just scan catalogs on the new website. I don't think so. I don't think I'm going to do that. You look for the hair that you lost. You and me, brother. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to put the catalogs on the website. For now, those are for me. That's the one thing I will If hoard is the word, that's one thing I'm going to do. It's if I did that, then it's like that's like a lot of extra work. Right now, it's a lot of work just to get what I want up there. I'm essentially, I don't know what the number is yet, but it's at least 4 times the number of images that are on the current site. Probably 4 times, 3 to 4 times. So I mean, it's going to be like looking at a catalog because there will be almost everything there. But again, what I'm doing is I'm rolling back the clock, so to speak, because my original intention was to catalog. Now, back when I started, we didn't have cell phones. Yeah, we didn't have smartphones. Is to catalog my collection so that I know what I have and what I don't have, or what I need to get, or what I want to find. So I'll be able to pull up my phone and go, well, I don't have that. Because if I find something, it'll be super easy for me, very easy now, for me to get it photographed, edited, and it'll be up on the site like, in less than a week. So I'm doing it I'm selfishly doing it for my own benefit, and it benefits everybody else, I guess. We'll see. Anyway, I got 4:45. I got to check in some Dr. G's Rejuvenator. I got a new product line that is going to go up on the website before 5 o'clock. It's not on there now, but it will go up before 5 o'clock. So that's kind of cool. And see what Lisa wants to do for her birthday. I think it's going to be a regular Wednesday today. I got 48 more times to sing to her. So anyway. Yeah, have a great night. Rest her singing voice for anyone Lisa gets up. Yeah. She laughs every time, though. She has laughed every time, and I've done it. I might be off on the count, but I've done it probably at least a dozen times. She laughs every time. So anyway. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in today. I do appreciate it, as always. Appreciate the lively banter and the... I like the thinking questions. Those are good. Keep on bringing those up. Keep on coming. Have a good night, Gary. So everybody have a good evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you are in the world. Be kind, be well, and we'll catch you tomorrow, all right? Take care, everyone. Bye now.